Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be like those treasure hunters. But instead of digging for gold, we're diving deep into sales data.
Love that analogy. I'm always telling people there's buried treasure in their data. They just need the right tools to uncover it.
And that's what we're here for, right? To give everyone listening the tools they need to make sense of their sales data, no matter how daunting it might seem.
Exactly.
So we're working from some really cool material on descriptive analysis, which sounds kind of technical, but it's actually super practical once you get the hang of it.
Oh, absolutely. And it breaks down into 7 key areas, so it's not as overwhelming as it might sound.
7, okay. So to make sure we're both on the same page, can you quickly walk us through those 7 areas?
Absolutely. So we've got central tendency, frequency distribution, measures of dispersion, and of course, trend analysis, data segmentation, data visualization, and finally, summary insights.
Gotcha. So like a whole toolkit for data detectives.
I like that. A data detective toolkit.
Okay, so I'm ready to crack this case wide open. Let's start with central tendency, I think was first on your list. What exactly is that?
So central tendency, it sounds kind of technical, right? But it's really just about understanding what's typical in your sales data.
Okay, I think I get that. But isn't that just looking at your average sale?
Well, it's a bit more nuanced than that. See, most businesses, they just look at the average, but they forget about the mean, the median, and the mode.
Right. So it's not just about the average customer, but understanding the different ways we can define what's typical, like you said.
Exactly. Let's say you're a food truck owner, right? You might think your most popular sandwich, the one with the highest average sale, is your best performer.
Makes sense?
But what if your data tells you that the classic cheddar, while not the most expensive, is actually your mode, the one people order most often?
Interesting. So even though it might not be the highest earner on average, it's consistently in demand.
Precisely. And that tells you something really important about your customers and what they love.
Okay, so we've got central tendency covered. What about frequency distribution? How does that help us decode our sales data?
Frequency distribution. Think of it like this. Imagine a graph that shows how often each of your products is purchased over a certain period.
Okay, I'm picturing it. What would that kind of graph tell me, besides, which products are flying off the shelves?
Well, for starters, it would show you your consistent bestsellers versus the ones that are lagging behind. And that, my friend, is pure gold for inventory management.
Right, so you're not overstocked on slow movers and constantly running out of your most popular items.
You got it. No more lost sales because you underestimated demand.
That's huge,
Yeah.
especially for businesses with limited storage or those working with, perishable goods.
Absolutely. But it's not just about inventory. Frequency distribution can also pinpoint those crucial sales peaks and valleys throughout the year.
Like those times when everyone's buying gifts, or, on the flip side, those quieter periods.
Exactly. Knowing those patterns means you can time your promotions perfectly, maybe offer something special during those peak seasons, even plan your staffing needs more effectively.
It's like having a crystal ball. You can anticipate those rushes and lulls instead of just reacting to them.
Exactly. It's all about being one step ahead of the game.
This is incredible. It's amazing what we can learn just by digging a little deeper into these numbers.
Right.
But before we move on, can we go back to something you mentioned earlier about identifying those VIP customers? You really piqued my interest with that one.
Ah, yes. That's where measures of dispersion come in. And that, my friend, is one of the most fascinating areas of descriptive analysis. We'll dive into that right after this.
Measures of dispersion. Okay, gotta admit, it sounds a little intimidating.
Not intimidating at all. It's all about understanding the spread or variability in your data. Instead of just looking at the average, we're looking at how much our data points deviate from that average.
Okay, so less about the what and more about the how much kind of.
Exactly. It's like, think of the difference between a still pond and a rushing river. Both have water, right? But their energy is totally different.
Got it. I could see that.
Yeah.
But how do we actually measure that difference, that variability?
Well, there are a few key measures we use. Range, standard deviation.
Standard deviation, that one always trips me up.
It's really not that complex. Let's say you own a coffee shop, right? And you look at your daily sales figures. A low standard deviation means your sales are pretty consistent from day to day.
Okay, that makes sense. Consistent sales, low standard deviation.
Right. But a high standard deviation, that tells you there's a lot more variability. Some days are booming, others are slow, maybe unexpectedly so.
So if I'm seeing those peaks and valleys in my sales data, that's a sign I need to, dig deeper and figure out why.
You got it. It's like a flashing sign saying, hey, pay attention. Something interesting is happening here.
Something's brewing.
Exactly. Maybe those slow days always coincide with some local event that draws people away. Or maybe your busiest days are when you run a certain promotion.
I see.
By really analyzing those highs and lows, you can unlock some pretty valuable insights.
Instead of just riding the roller coaster, you're learning how to operate it. Okay, this is making a lot more sense now.
And that brings us back to identifying those VIP customers. Quartile analysis in particular is super helpful for this.
Okay, quartile analysis sounds a bit like a geometry problem.
Not quite, but it does involve dividing something into sections. Quartile analysis helps us divide our customer base into 4 groups.
Based on?
Their spending habits. We can see who our top spenders are, our average spenders, and so on.
Okay, yeah, I'm seeing how that would be super useful. Target your marketing efforts more effectively, maybe create some loyalty programs.
Exactly. And here's the thing. Often, a small percentage of your customers, your top quartile, those VIPs, they're the ones who are responsible for a significant chunk of your revenue.
No way. So it's like the 80-20 rule, but for customers.
Exactly. And by identifying those VIPs, you can start to understand what makes them tick, what keeps them coming back for more.
Okay, so once we've figured out who our VIPs are, what do we use with that information? How do we use it to, actually improve our business?
Well, that's where it gets really strategic. Think about it. You can tailor your loyalty programs to reward their continued business, offer them exclusive perks, maybe even involve them in product development.
So it's all about, nurturing those relationships, building that brand loyalty.
Precisely. And by understanding their preferences and their buying behaviors, you can create a customer experience that keeps them engaged and coming back for more.
It's like that saying, it's cheaper to keep an existing customer than to acquire a new one. But in this case, you're not just keeping them, you're turning them into, raving fans.
Exactly. You're building a community around your brand.
This is incredible. It feels like we're building a toolkit here for data-driven decision-making. Each concept adds another layer of understanding.
I like the way you think.
So far, we've talked about understanding what's typical, spotting patterns, finding those hidden opportunities in our data. What's next in our data detective toolkit?
Well, next up, we're going to put on our future predicting hats and dive into trend and time series analysis.
Okay, you had me at future predicting. Tell me everything.
All right, picture this. You're a fashion retailer, right? You analyze your sales data over the past few years and notice a consistent spike in swimwear sales every January. What's going on there?
Well, people are probably starting to plan their winter getaways to someplace warm, escape the cold. Makes sense that they'd be shopping for swimsuits in January.
Exactly. Recognizing that recurring trend allows you to be proactive. Stock up on swimwear in December, maybe even collaborate with some travel influencers to really capitalize on that demand.
That's brilliant. It's like using data to anticipate your customers' needs before they even know they have them.
That's the power of trend analysis. It's not just about reacting to what's already happened. It's about using those past patterns to predict future behavior.
Okay, that's amazing. But what about businesses that don't have those clear seasonal trends? Can they still use data to predict future sales?
Absolutely. In those cases, we look at broader economic indicators, changes in consumer behavior, maybe even analyze the performance of similar businesses in your industry.
So you're saying even if my business doesn't have those obvious peaks and valleys, there's still a wealth of data out there I can use to my advantage.
You got it. It just requires a bit more digging and connecting the dots.
This is all so insightful, but I gotta be honest, I'm starting to feel a bit overwhelmed. So much data to consider, so many different factors to analyze. How do we keep it all straight?
That's a great question and one I hear all the time. And that's where data segmentation comes in. It's about breaking down that mountain of data into smaller, more manageable chunks. It's about finding the gold nuggets that are most relevant to your business goals.
Okay, data segmentation. I like the sound of that. Tell me more. Data segmentations, it's like we're narrowing down our focus, getting really specific with our analysis.
Exactly. Imagine you're a clothing retailer, right? You've got this online store, and you're getting data from all these different customers. But instead of seeing them as this one big group, data segmentation lets you divide them into smaller, more meaningful segments.
Okay, so instead of blasting everyone on my email list with the same generic message, I could create targeted campaigns that really speak to specific groups.
Exactly. Let's say your data shows that your young professional segment loves your athleisure wear. You could create a whole campaign showcasing your new line of performance apparel, maybe even partner with a local fitness studio for a promotion.
And for like the stay-at-home parent segment, maybe I highlight my comfy, durable, everyday wear. Maybe even run a social media contest asking parents to share their funniest parenting stories. Winner gets a gift card.
Now you're thinking strategically. By tailoring your message to those specific customer segments, you're going to see much higher engagement and ultimately more sales.
This is amazing. It's like I've been using a shotgun approach to marketing, but now I've got a sniper rifle. Data segmentation for the win.
I love that analogy. And it's not just for marketing. You can use data segmentation to develop new products, even optimize your pricing strategies.
Wow, so many applications. Okay, my mind is officially blown. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we need to talk about how to make sure all this data we're analyzing, how do we actually use it? How do we make sure these insights translate into actual results?
That, my friend, is where data visualization comes in.
Data visualization. Okay, I have a feeling I know where we're going with this, but humor me. Lay it on me.
It's one thing to have all these incredible insights locked away in your spreadsheets, but it's another thing entirely to be able to communicate them effectively.
So we're talking charts and graphs, infographics, all that good stuff that makes data easier to digest.
You got it. A well-designed chart can communicate a complex trend more effectively than words ever could.
Oh, absolutely. I can't even imagine trying to explain the impact of a new marketing campaign by just using numbers. Snooze fest.
Right. But if you present that same data with a line graph, one that clearly shows how sales shot up after the campaign launched, suddenly everyone's on board.
It's about telling a story with your data, making it engaging and easy to understand.
Precisely. And don't underestimate the power of using visuals to track your progress over time. Imagine having a dashboard right there on your computer showing all your key performance indicators updated in real time.
So you can see what's working, what's not, and adjust your strategy as needed.
You got it. It's like having a visual representation of your business's heartbeat.
I love that.
Yeah.
And the best part, with all the technology we have today, creating those visuals is easier than ever.
Exactly. There are so many user-friendly tools out there. Okay, but I think there's one more essential piece of the puzzle we haven't touched on yet.
Oh, do tell. We've covered a lot of ground here, from central tendency to data visualization. What's left?
The grand finale. Summary insights. It's all about taking those complex findings and distilling them into those clear, concise takeaways that anyone can understand.
Ah, I see. So it's not enough to just present a mountain of charts and graphs.
Right.
We need to tell a compelling story with our data that actually drives strategic decision-making.
Exactly. Let's say your analysis shows that your social media marketing is crushing it, bringing in way more leads than your traditional advertising. Your summary insights, they would highlight that key takeaway. It might even recommend shifting more of your budget towards social media.
So you're connecting those data points to your overall business objectives.
Right. If your goal is brand awareness, your summary insights might suggest ways to expand your social media reach. But if it's all about driving online sales, those insights might highlight the need to optimize your website for mobile or launch a new email marketing campaign.
So it's really about making your data work for you, telling a story that makes sense for your business and your goals.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of data analysis, isn't it? It's not just about the numbers themselves. It's about using those numbers to make smarter decisions and drive real, tangible results.
This deep dive has been incredible. We went from feeling overwhelmed by data to feeling empowered by it. We've explored the power of descriptive analysis, learned a whole toolkit of analytical techniques, and most importantly, discovered how to translate those complex data sets into actionable insights.
And remember, anyone can be a data detective. All it takes is asking the right questions, a little curiosity, and a willingness to embrace the power of data to take your business to the next level.
Absolutely. To all our listeners out there, what hidden patterns might your sales data be revealing? What stories are waiting to be told? The answers might surprise you. They just might unlock incredible new possibilities for your business.
Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep.
From spreadsheets to strategies, from numbers to narratives, the journey to unlocking